Okay, it says we are live.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so give it just a couple seconds to kind of click in everywhere. And welcome, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Couldn't see myself being anywhere else this morning.
Awesome. And just so everybody knows, where am I talking to you from?
I'm coming from Calera, Alabama. Those of you who maybe don't know anything about the states or anything, the closest big city to us would be Birmingham, Alabama. If you've ever seen the first 48, Birmingham, Alabama is one of the cities on there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it's interesting. People have a certain sometimes stereotype about the South or judgment about the South. I've been all over in the deep South in the U.S., in the East and in the West, and I actually really, really love the culture there, the food, the people, the attitude.
Yeah, a lot of fried food, huh?
Yeah, a lot of fried food, but a lot of seafood, and it was to me it was a pretty different place than where I grew up in Minnesota. But
Definitely. I've been up north, and I can tell you just from I know y'all don't eat grits, or
right, and then we started eating some grits at some. Oh yeah, because I had a girlfriend from Gulfport, Mississippi.
oh yeah,
Right,
definitely.
right,
You're
right
not
near
going to get away
Biloxi.
with it if
So
you get one of these. Somebody from the Bible Belt, they eat grits.
yeah, so we were eating. We had grits, and she loved that. And then what was it? The beignet,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
those
good too.
donut-like things. Yeah, her grandma was super into those. Uh, but yeah, I enjoyed it, and I noticed when I walked around on the streets, especially on the Gulf Coast. There, I can't speak as much for Alabama, but the houses with the long porches, and people sitting out front. Hey, honey, what you doing? And like come over and drink sweet
Yeah,
tea and stuff. Like there was,
it's definitely very friendly. I could say that. For instance, like at the Alabama games, that's a big deal here. The University of Alabama, their football team's really huge here. And if you ever went to the quad, which is like pretty much their courtyard outside of the field, um, um, the stands are always full for sure, but the quad's actually full as well. And people will just be parking out there with like tents, and you can literally just go to anyone's tents and eat barbecue with them, drink drinks, whatever. It's super friendly and accommodating here.
yeah,
Um, it's definitely not like what did I just say? Definitely not like New York. Like
yeah.
where people are more get away from me, get out of my face. They don't really want to speak to you. Here, if you ask for directions, you're going to get them.
Yeah, I noticed that too while hitchhiking. And once I got past a certain point, like going south from Minnesota, once I would get deeper into the south, like it got much easier. Like people were stopping to pick me up, and there's like rich people picking me up in a big fancy car, poor people picking me up, people in motorhomes. Like it was
Yeah, you
very
never know.
different once you got
People,
south.
I like it here because I feel like people care about you here. That's the best
Yeah,
way that I could put it. But just as much as that, we also have just as much as the evil side of everything too. You know what I mean?
hmm
Um, like for instance, the way I came up, I didn't honestly know that Alabama was a good place for quite some time.
yeah. Let's get into that. And also let's set the stage. So, did you grow up in a rural area, or were you in a city? Like, let's set the stage for people to kind of understand the context of where this
Right.
was.
So Birmingham, Alabama is kind of the biggest city close to us, and then Bessemer and Hueytown are right kind of the outskirt towns. So I grew up 20 minutes from the big city, you know what I mean? But then also kind of more of a smaller town too, but it definitely wasn't royal. I did spend some times in rural areas though, as I grew up and got into foster care and different things like that.
And so, what happened there? I know you mentioned it before, the foster care thing. So, where like if that's cool to go to that territory,
Yeah,
I'm curious
definitely.
what happened with the parents.
So my dad was never in my life pretty much. Literally, he's been in and out of prison my entire life. I think I lived with him 2 weeks ever. Um, and during that time, I really wasn't. I didn't really learn much from him or anything like that. I remember being there those 2 weeks, and then I remember my mom just showing up one day and coming and getting us. My dad, though, again, kind of reason why he was never there, he was literally a pedophile. He had molested some children and stuff like that. And I don't know if my mom knew kind of like what he was or whatever, but we just ended up staying away. I don't know the situation of how they split or why they split or whatever, but
no,
he ended up getting me. He ended up getting my stepmom's sister's children. So that whole situation happened. Anyways, he stays in prison forever. Never really knew my dad, seen my dad, any of that. My mom, on the other hand, was there up until the age of 9, but she was a stripper, always on drugs. You know what I mean? Like all the. If you can imagine it, she was doing it.
Yeah.
So let's put it like that. How can that go? And then so we end up in these apartments actually with a stepdad of mine. She gets this other guy. She's been with him for quite some time. She actually gets pregnant, has my little brother. So now there's me, my little sister, which is 18 months apart, and then now my little brother. By this time, I'm getting up to the age around 9. The owner of the apartments, or like the manager of the apartments, his son actually became friends with me. So I was at their house all the time because they had bicycles and everything like that, right? And then to me, like having a bicycle, DirecTV, and Dr. Peppers to drink in your house meant that you were just rich, right?
Wow.
So of course, I wanted to be there more than my house, right? And because there was drama going on, drugs, fighting, anything you can imagine. Plus, it was crowded. We were living in the house, like in a 2-bedroom apartment with like 7, 8 people. So, and we're kids, and everybody, obviously, all the adults are miserable with their lives, not really liking what's going on. So you can imagine how they didn't really enjoy children having fun or playing or making noise at all.
Right.
So we were always outside. So no one really missed the fact that I was never there, if that makes sense, that I was hanging out with these other kids.
Right.
So I'm out, and he's got 2 bikes actually. So every day I'm with him, I got a bike to ride too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much my bike, I kind of claim this bike, and I get kind of close to the parents too, because I'm always there, Yeah. And sooner or later, the friend's dad actually had someone who was in DHR. I don't know if it was a friend of his, a family member, or what, but they actually told them that they were about to. DHR is Department of Human Resources, for people that don't know. It's like child services everywhere else.
Yeah.
They told them that they were about to come take us away from our mother, because the drugs and the whole situation, all this. Sometime in this time, also my mom had stole a car off a car lot and sold it to some drug dealer. She was about to go to prison for that. I didn't even know all that, what's happening, but all of that had happened too in the same time frame.
And you were going to school during this as well, or is this summertime? This was summertime, or you were going to school during all this?
So all of this would have really, I have childhood PTSD, so I the time frames and when things happen is kind of off for me, but all of this would have probably actually taken place over years. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So it's
but you were going to school, or you were kind of just...
I know what happened, but when and what time it was and all that kind of stuff, it would be difficult. But yeah, so definitely I was in school. Like I said, I'm around the age of 9. Up until this point, all the stuff about the drugs and fighting and stuff with my dad, all that kind of stuff has been going on this whole time. I don't remember exact scenarios and different things like that.
Sure.
But a pretty rough life all the way up till 9, and then by 9 now it's getting worse because mom's out here stealing cars and about to go to prison. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So DHR stepping in now, and they're like, something's got to be done with these children. They can't be going through this.
No.
And so I'm thinking, DHR and all this stuff, they're evil. You know what I mean? They're stripping us away. We don't see that our family's actually screwed up and nothing's right. Of course, you always think that what you have is the best, right? Why would you think that anything could be better than what you have? You know what I mean?
Right, and it becomes normalized, right? So it's
right. So it's everybody must be like this. That's how it seems. So then it seemed why would you take me away from my crazy and put me with somebody else's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was hard to deal with. But what ended up happening is that friend that I told y'all about, his dad was friends with the DHR and all of that. So he actually stepped up and said he would take me. So I ended up getting to stay where I was, and I actually got planted for about 6 years. My brother and sister, though, on the other hand, got moved around to different places and all kind of stuff like that. My sister actually ended up getting raped until her appendix ruptured.
Jesus, man.
It broke my brother's leg or arm, one or the other, I can't remember. And,
so they got into like messed up foster.
Yeah, they went through all kind of crap, and then I beat myself up forever and blamed myself the entire 6 years of going through all the foster care I went through because I ran. I didn't go with them, you know.
Right.
I took the easy way out and went with someone I knew, but they wouldn't take them, you know. So I beat myself up of like, why didn't I stay with them, you know? Why didn't I could have helped them, you know? I could have done something, you know. Definitely,
Sure.
And that's definitely showed too in life. Like I'm definitely the guy that's made it happen. You know what I mean? And I beat myself up so much about that because I know in my heart, I know if I was there, it would have not happened. It would not happen that way, or at least not that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was really, really hard to put on. Like, I never thought anybody else did it. I thought it was all me, you know? So I was taking the stress of all of my mom's crap and my dad's crap and all of the world.
No.
And I was taking extreme ownership at a really young level, and that changed me forever. And now, yeah. So let me just keep going through that story, I guess.
Yeah, man.
That's my PTSD. Always wants to just stop. You know what I mean? But
sure.
So then, yeah. So that happens for like a long time, right? I ended up getting back with them. My brother and sister go through all those foster homes. They're all going through that. I'm just at this one family's house this whole time, right? And time's going on. What's some more crazy stuff that happens? Yeah, so time's going on. I'm still with these people. The couple of times my family comes in and out, they like want to hang out with me for a weekend or whatever, and then the next weekend they're supposed to pick me up and they never show up. And,
yeah.
These different things like that. So that goes on, like I said, back and forth for 6 years of really them never being there and them always lying to me, saying that they're going to come back, and you know all
right.
this, from the grandmothers to the mom, everyone in my family, literally. And then so my brother and sister get fully adopted by this family, and they moved to Dothan, Alabama.
A different one, not the tragic one, not the violent situation.
They ended up in the end with a decent family, like someone who actually fully adopted them. The other ones were just foster care homes, which is just like you don't actually keep the kid, but the kids that are in trouble or dire need of assistance and stuff like that, they come to your home until they find placement. So more times than not, pedophiles actually seek those positions because they get the children that are most troubled and have no voice. They have no one to speak up for them.
It's so crazy that they're not vetted in some way. And I understand.
There's like a drug test and a little bit of classes you go through, but come on, bro. I mean. And
they get funding, right? They get some kind of funding for it as well.
What do you think a wolf will go through to eat a sheep? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So they'll definitely, they'll definitely pass all their tests. The United States government is definitely not smart enough to spot a pedophile. That's the best way I can put that. And yeah, so that happens. Yeah, it definitely happened. My sister and them finally end up in a good place though. So I finally get to a place where I'm not as worried about them and just stressed out. And now I start looking for an exit. I start looking for a way out. And the only thing I ever knew was obviously, you know, what everyone always taught me, you know, take it. Take it, you know, whatever you need, just take it. You know, if you want out of here, no one's coming to save you. You know, I really was in a place where I didn't even believe God was going to save me. You know, why would God let that happen?
Yeah.
You know? And then so it was like I knew my parents, my mom, she's not coming. My dad's not coming. You know, God's not coming. Who's coming?
Mm-hmm.
Only one's coming is Dustin, right? So Dustin's got to figure this out, or else Dustin's going to be here forever, for the rest of his life. And I was almost settled with that until I realized that it was up to me, and that life is up to me, no matter what people think. And as long as I'm okay with the repercussions that come with that, then I can make moves, right? So what I end up doing is the foster family that I was living with, they end up moving in their mom into the house. She's like elderly and all of this. She's from Zion, Illinois, or whatever. We go up there, we pick her up, and then I'm finding out finally down the road that this lady has been getting a Social Security check and has not ever put it in the bank. She literally has been keeping it in her purse, and literally the only thing on the outside of it is written in pencil. Every time she takes out 20, it'll be minus 20, and then the new amount all the way down. It's a huge, long, just a ledger on this envelope, and that's all that's here. And me, at this point, I'm like 14 and a half. I'm just fixing to turn 15.
Yeah.
Been in foster care about 6 years. I'm really sick of it. These family, they honestly probably really did love me, but I could never have believed that in my entire life. It just never would have worked. I don't know. I couldn't believe that anybody, if my mom, my dad, and God wasn't going to save me, how the heck am I going to believe that y'all love me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So that was difficult. And so the whole 6 years, I thought I was living with literally my enemies, the people that were against me. I stayed in my room the whole time. I was super depressed, and it was crazy, bro. This was really a crazy time. And so anyways, I ended up one night, I just decide, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I crawl on my hands and knees in the lady's room, and I get in her purse, and I pull out her little envelope and her little pencil, and I scribble out, I think it was, I can't remember, 400. It was 400, the first amount I stole, because I talked to my mom earlier on the phone, like the day before, and we had talked. I was like, man, I'm ready to get out of here. You know, what do I need? And she was like, well, I just don't have a place. You know, if I just had a place for you to come, you could come. And then we were talking about the 4th Avenue Trailer Park, which is in Bessemer, Alabama. And she was like, it's $200 deposit and then $200 for the first week. It was $200 a week, everything included. That's what it costs to live in that trailer. So she needed $400 essentially to actually get in the place, right? So I go in there, I get the 400.
And you scratched it off with the pencil. This is amazing.
Used the pencil, erased it to where no one ever even knew that the money was gone, because she didn't have any other ledger. You know what I'm saying? So, and there was just a bunch of money in there. She was never going to pull it out and like count the money or anything like that. She was just going to look at the front and see what it was and trust it, you know? So some reason she thought she pulled out 400, and I didn't even put 400 there. I just erased the last amount and put $400 less. I didn't change the actual.
Clever little guy.
The actual numbers. So she didn't ever think, okay, 400. That's weird. I didn't take out 400. You know what I mean? She just looks at the number and trusts it.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's crazy, bro. I'm telling you, the stuff that they instilled into me at a young age was crazy. But so anyways, next day my mom and my stepdad pull up, right? They pull up to the foster house where I'm at to come get this $400 from me. And they get the 400, and as soon as I hand it to them, I got this gut feeling that I just made the dumbest mistake.
Ouch. I could feel it when you were even mentioning the phone call, man. I could feel it already.
Dude, you just did the dumbest thing ever. Why did you give them your money?
Yeah.
And the second they leave, I don't hear from them for like a week. And then
dude.
I finally do get back on the phone with my mom, and she blames it all on my stepdad. Your stepdad smoked crack with it. No. I'm thinking, you were in the car with nobody but him.
Yeah.
So whatever he chose to do was your fault.
Yeah.
Because why did you pull up to get this money with him?
Yeah.
So I'm putting all this in my mind. Okay, so y'all smoked crack with my money.
Man, that's so crazy.
Stupid. I know it's not nobody's fault. Y'all were in the car. You don't get in the car with someone and then blame it on them.
Yeah, exactly.
No. So they stole my money. They smoked crack with it. So what do? I think even smarter. Who is her arch nemesis? it would be my stepmother, right? My dad's in prison at this time, so I don't have to worry about him at all. But my mom and my stepmother, they always hated each other. They were always jealous and fighting and all this kind of crap. They hated each other.
Your stepmom now. That's your dad is married, remarried.
Remember my dad went off and had another family, and then it was her, my stepmom's sister's kids that he did all the molesting to. So that's why he liked them better and left my mom while she was pregnant to go be with them because they had more kids for him to actually do stuff to. You know what I mean? Like
Jesus,
it was a free for all. They were all always screwed up on somas and Xanaxes, so the moms were always asleep and the kids were always vulnerable.
Oh my God!
My dad literally preyed on that.
Yeah.
And he's a sick dude, man, for sure. I hope he sees this, so he has to see that I'm man enough to expose you, bro. Like, literally, I don't care. You know, like you don't have any power over me. And so where was I at right then before I said that? Where was I? I was saying something.
You were saying, so you figured out that the money
they stole my money and all that.
They stole it, and then you're like, then you were going to go to the stepmother.
Right. I had to come up with a new plan because my goal is still getting the heck out of here and getting this house. Yeah. I don't care what anyone else has done. Right. I'm freaking set. My heart is set on getting this goal to happen.
Yeah.
And better believe it happened. I got in touch with my stepmom. I told her the situation, and she was like, well, I need a car right now, and I'm about $400 short on a car.
Yeah.
So if you can get that for me, then I'll rent the trailer for your mom. So now stepmom's using me. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I do. I see the whole thing, man. Wow.
So, yeah, bro. They set me up any way they could. Literally all of them always took advantage of me. So that night, what do you think I do? I'm back in that room. I'm calling in this time.
Yeah.
This time I had to take $400 for stepmom, $400 for the trailer. And this time, though, I said, you know what? I'm not doing all this shit for everybody else. I took an extra $200 because I wanted to skateboard. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, let's skateboard too out of this. You know, I'm tired of everybody screwing me over, man, and I'm just trying to do everything the right way. I'm getting me too, you know?
Yeah.
Not realizing I'm screwing people by doing this.
Yeah.
It's backwards, man. And I climb right back out of there. And then next day, my stepmom picks me up. I hang on to the money this time. We go get the car. I give her $400 at the car. We go to the trailer. We're both in there with the guy. I hand the money to the guy. Boom. We go on. We go to the flea market. I go down there. I buy my skateboard. It was the Baker skateboard. I still remember it to this day. It was it literally had 3 things on it. It said Blunts, Booze, and Beagle. And Beagle was the skateboarder who it was. And then obviously Blunts and Booze. Like, you can imagine where my mind was. You know what I mean? I'm that's where I was, right? I was just thinking that was life. You know what I mean? Like, I might as well get used to it. If I'm bad enough, I can have a good life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because life's bad already. But I just got to be badder than it keeps trying to be, and I'm going to win.
And were you listening to like so this must have, I forget how old you are now.
I'm like 14 and a half, just fixing to
turn. No, how old are you now? So this was like, how old are you now?
I'm 28 right now.
Okay, so this was 14 years ago. So were you listening to like hip hop and that kind of stuff, or what were you? You know what I mean? Was the music helping you?
When I was in the foster care, with those kids, I was in the Royal area. We were like skateboarding. We were into like rock and roll and all of that. But then once I stole this money and I get back with my mom, now we're in Bessemer, Alabama, where it's all like, you know, blacks and Mexicans and gang banging and drugs and all kind of stuff like this is going on. So then, of course, at that point, I'm really good at being popular, I guess is the best way to say it. I'm a chameleon. I'm really good at being whoever needs to be. You know what I mean? I guess is the best way to say it. So I realized that being the skateboarder rock and roll kid wasn't going to cut it in Bessemer. You know what I mean? You were going to get made fun of, beat the heck out of, all of that, right? So I quickly became a gangster pretty fast in like 3 days. And and before you knew it, I was hanging out, you know, outside with the gangsters, you know, and it didn't take me long till I was coming back home and mom was in there, literally in the house that I paid for and I got for us, smoking the same crack and same drugs and stuff that literally had taken us away and lost everybody before. she's literally asking me to help her make the crack pipes and stuff like this.
Oh
You know what I mean?
no, man, that's so crazy. Yeah.
And I once I'm like in the middle of trying to make this damn thing, and I'm just thinking like, yeah, this is it too, bro. I'm about to get the hell out of here too.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, this ain't cool, you know. Anyways, some time goes on, she gets more and more into that shit, you know what I mean? And we end up she's a waitress, right? So she's always got these old men that like become her sugar daddies and shit like that, you know.
Yeah.
And so she met this sugar daddy, and before you know it, we're like living in these nice hotels and all kind of stuff. She's done got me a computer. She's got me an Xbox. We're buying all kind of stuff. We're shopping all the time and all of this. Everything's seeming so great because we have money now. You know what I mean? And we're living like a literal fairy tale in the middle of Bessemer, like we're on vacation or something. We're literally in hotels and everything when we have a house, because she's lying to the dude saying that like we have something's wrong with the house or whatever, so she needs money to fix that and we can't stay there, you know, whatever kind of crap.
Yeah.
Always just running a new scam on the dude. And she starts getting so much money though that she literally has the dope man literally every hour pulling up $100, like to where she's not even having to call him now. Just every hour he's pulling up, and he's starting to give her weaker dope, because he knows that that's how the drug game works. For those of you that don't know, if you ever wonder why the drugs quit working, it's because they start selling you shittier drugs after they have made all of your money and know that the drugs will not get you any higher than you already are. So
That's crazy. Wow.
That's what happens. That's what happened to my mom, where she's getting all this money and she's like, I don't know how I'm not high, and I've been spending all this money and she's getting mad and irate and starts blaming it on me, like I'm too loud, so I'm blowing her high, you know what I mean, and all this. And I tell her to her face, I said, you want to know what it really is? You're getting hustled, because you're not a hustler, you're a dope head. I told her that to her face, and she got mad and she kicked me out. So when she kicks me out, what do you think I do? I go straight back to my stepmom's, the one place I knew to go. Turns out by then my stepsister had gotten with this guy and his family and them on a junkyard. So that a couple of days go by, I start going to the junkyard with him. And while I'm at the junkyard, I'm start saying, hey man, there's a whole bunch of just like people take parts out of cars, radios and stuff, and all the wires and stuff's just like hanging out. You know what I mean? Can I get all these wires? And then he's like, yeah, bro, you can have those wires, whatever. So I start for like 2 days straight. I'm stripping all the wires I can get out of the car. I'm taking wires that they didn't say I could have and everything. I'm taking the battery terminals.
Yeah.
I'm stripping these cars completely bald. They ain't got no wires left. And I'm burning them, burning all the stuff off of it. And I got me 2 5-gallon buckets full of copper.
Yeah.
When I get that, I call my aunt. She was a drug addict, and she was with who I called my uncle, but really wasn't ever my uncle. And his name was John Wayne, and he was a gangster, called himself gangster, but he turns out later I learned he was really just a dope head too. Yeah. But anyway, so I wanted to go with them. I figured, okay, I got this copper, I can take it with them, I can sell it, we can end up buying some stuff, you know what I mean? They know where to get drugs and everything else like this. Like we can figure something out and make a move, right? So I take the copper, I go sell it. It's $200 worth of copper. First thing I do is I use my phone that I just left my mom's, remember? She had used my phone to call her drug dealer. So when I jump in the car with John, I find out he's smoking crack too. He's smoking
Jesus, man.
As soon as I jump in the car, right, he's smoking crack too. We're riding around, he's smoking crack while we're going down the road. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't get away from this shit. So what I realized is that it was time to get with it instead of trying to get away from it. So what I did is, as I got him to take my copper to the scrap yard. Of course, I had to pay him half the money to take me. You know how that works. Yeah, so I got $200 and I only had $100 left. So what do? I call the drug dealer that my mom used to call on my phone. I'm like, hey, man, look, mom done kicked me out. I'm over here with my uncle. All of them used the shit too. I don't want to use it. I want to be like you. I want to have, chains and cars and nice stuff like you got, because I'm watching these guys pull up. Their life's obviously better than mine ever was. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so he's like, you know what? Come on. I'll give you an 8-ball for $90. So I go over there. I buy the 8-ball of crack for $90. I got to give $10 worth of it to my ride for bringing me, which is my uncle, of course. I go back to his house or whatever, and over the next 2 weeks, I'm selling dope to everybody I knew. I'm making $300 off every 8-ball. Every time I get one 8-ball for $90, I can sell it in little bitty pieces, and it makes me $300, right? So I'm literally tripling my money every time, and I'm starting to get, kind of a little something going on. I'm buying me a couple of guns now. I got a couple of Jordans. I'm starting to got nice clothes. All this stuff's going on. Yeah. 2 weeks go by, and it's like 3:00 in the morning. We're coming home. Police hit the lights on us. Of course, they hit the lights on us. I'm only 17 years old at this time too, right? So they hit the lights on us. I don't know what to do with my drugs. I got a ball of crack about this big in my sock, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. So I sling it out the window. And literally like an outfield baseball player, I'm looking out my rearview mirror and I just see a cop like this. Like running straight to the ball, catches it.
Oh, man.
Got me out in midair, you know what I mean?
Oof. Jeez.
Dang it. So I literally threw it to him instead of I could have probably kept it on me and I didn't know it at the time, but I'm a juvenile. They might not have even been able to pat me down or anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but since I throw it out, they find out that I'm an underage freaking guy and that I'm with these other dudes that are smoking crack. And one of the other dudes was literally smoking crack in the back of the freaking car while we got pulled over. And in the commotion, when I don't know if you've ever seen someone smoke the thing crack, but when you smoke it, it pops and melts and crap everywhere. And when it did that, it popped out of the pipe and landed on his freaking neck and dried there. Oof. So dude literally in the back seat gets caught for having crack dried to his neck. And then I literally get baseball caught and taken out, right? Yeah. By throwing mine out the window. And I'm just like, oh God, it's really over now, isn't it? This is how it happens. This is how it goes. So I'm arrested now. I'm in the back of the cop car and I'm pleading to the guy, I'm trying to get the cop to understand. You know what I mean? What did I do wrong for real, officer? You know what I mean? I don't use that shit. That's why I literally told the officer that. I said, I don't use drugs. I sell these drugs because I don't even have anywhere to live. I'm trying to make money to make a living. You know what I mean? To take care of myself. All these drug addicts won't even let me stay in their house if I don't sell it or do it with them. So I got to do something. And then the officer's like, Dustin, please shut up. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm trying to plead my case, Yeah. He's like, please shut up, because honestly, the fact that you're telling me that you sell this is an entire another charge.
Yeah.
And then just your possession. God, so selling is worse than doing it. I didn't even know that. I thought as long as I'm selling it, I'm not doing it, I'm better than everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it turns out that's not the case. It's actually looked down on worse because you don't pay taxes and you make more money than the police, and they don't like that. So when I figured that out, I knew, okay, this is a problem. I do need to just shut up. I end up in juvenile. Well, Juvenile actually, I go to court pretty quick or whatever. They actually sentenced me to 90 days in rehab because from the cop taught me something. So now when I go to court, I'm not telling the judge that I used to sell this crap. I'm telling the judge that I'm a raging crack addict.
Oh man!
So my story's changed. You know what I mean? Now I'm a raging crack addict. I need help. They sentenced me to 90 days in something called the Bridge, which is in Gaston, Alabama. It's upstate to almost the top of Alabama, and the Bridge is a 90-day rehab program for juvenile delinquents. So I get sent there, and I get sent there. Everything it's kind of going good for a minute. Of course, I still haven't heard from my mom. It's been over a year now, and when I get in there, everybody gets to talk to their family once a month. You get a counselor visit once a month, and you talk to your family. It's like a 10-minute phone call or something, and and when you first get there, you're allowed to get one care package because you need boxers, underwear, socks, sure. Soap, all that kind of crap. Well, the only person I could never get in touch with my mom. my grandmother never answered. I finally got into. I called my grandmother's home phone, and my aunt Jerica answered. Jerica was obviously the one that was with John, the person who I was living with while I was selling all this crap. And remember, I told you I had a good bit of stuff going on, a lot of stuff over at their house. So when I get in touch with Jerica, I'm like, hey, hello, I've been trying to call y'all for months. You know what I mean? My stuff is literally at your boyfriend's house right the freak now. I need you to go up there and pick it up so I can, get my care package. And obviously, all my Jordans, my guns, and anything of actual value was stolen. So the only thing I ended up getting was my boxers and socks. And and I get that sent to me. And the whole time my aunt and my grandma start talking to me pretty regular. It's like a couple of months. And then I say about the halfway through, everybody stops answering. Nobody's answering anymore. And I'm already knowing in my heart that when it's time for me to leave this program, nobody's going to pick me up. Mm-hmm. And when you're in juvenile, that's actually exactly what happened too. When you're in juvenile, if no one shows up to pick you up, then they actually call the county that brought you there, and you go back to juvenile. So luckily, the day I'm supposed to be getting freed, I'm going. They literally put me outside the program. I'm in my regular clothes now, and all day long I had to sit outside of the program in a chair, literally outside, because I'm not allowed to be inside the program anymore. Nobody's paid for me to be there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm literally just outside. It's so far. I thought about just running away a million times, but I'm so far from home, and I know nobody in Gadsden that I literally knew I would just die. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that wouldn't work. So I literally had to just sit there until I seen Jefferson County pull back up, and I knew I'm going to juvenile again. They put me in the back of the cop car. I literally get handcuffed again, like I just been arrested. I have to drive an hour in handcuffs again on the day that I'm supposed to be free. An hour or two all the way back to Jefferson County. I get put back in to the juvenile detention center, and literally, while I'm in the juvenile detention center, they have emergency hearing on my behalf at DHR to take me out of my mom's custody and put me into DHR's custody. That way they can legally even do something with me, because until then they couldn't do nothing but put me in juvenile. You know what I mean? Yeah. So now I'm in DHR's custody. I had an emergency hearing. They automatically did it. And next thing I know, they're saying, pack it up, Dustin. And I'm thinking, who the hell just came to pick me up? I'm hoping, I'm happy. I'm hoping it's my mom, you know what I mean? Or my grandma, some freaking body that I know. And of course, when I get to the front gate, it's some black lady I never met that's a social worker. And I'm like, okay, whatever. At least I'm getting out of here, so I'm cool. I'm at least going to follow her. I go to her car. And she's talking all nice to me, telling me how she's got this great place for me to go. We're going to do outings all the time. There's a lot of kids there. And I'm going to get to wear my own clothes. I don't have to wear juvenile stuff anymore and all this. And I'm just like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have any clothes, and nobody's going to bring me any clothes. So if you take me somewhere that I have to wear my own clothes, what am I going to wear? I have nothing. So the lady literally has to take me to Burlington Coat Factory and buy clothes out of her own pocket. Wow. For me. And I don't know if she probably got reimbursed for them, but at the time, they didn't give her money to do it, right? She had to pay for it right then out of her own stuff. And then she takes me to when we pull up to the place, I'm like, oh my God, you tricked me for real. Cause I guess she thought I couldn't read or something. Literally big ass words on the front of it. Hillcrest Behavioral Health Center. I'm like, you're literally taking me to a mental hospital?
Oh, man.
You're literally taking me to a mental hospital, and what have I done? What have I done mentally? You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, and this is something that I talk about in general, is like the psychiatric realm. In some ways, and I can't say in every case, but in some ways, you're better off in the criminal justice system than you are in the mental health one, because then they can extend your stay without any oversight forever and be drugging you,
because they get to choose that their mind is smarter than yours.
Yeah, and they have a bunch of sort of arbitrary categorization schemes, degrees, but the categorization schemes. Oh, this is ADD,
it's all,
this is that.
Dude, all it is put somebody in a corner, bro. put somebody in a corner and just keep messing with them.
Yeah.
And now you got a crazy person, and now we can keep you here
exactly.
forever.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
It's almost always environmental factors, like that, rather than.
I watched it. So let me explain how this works. So I get in the hospital, and I'm telling you, bro, I'm intellectually, like, as far as understanding why things are, how people are, and how things are going to be. I'm literally a superb level of that, like unheard of. Like I don't know, no, somebody might be better than me, but I haven't met them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And anyway, so I get into this hospital, and immediately off the bat, I realized that they have what's called an adolescent program. Adolescent program is for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, they bring you in when you're flipping out, and they call themselves figuring you out. You kind of just literally, you're not allowed to talk or anything. You just stay there. They try medicines on you is really what happens. And I watched people come in for those 2 week things and never leave. They would literally get taken from that to the RTC program, which was the residential treatment center for people like pretty much the youth. You know what I mean? Like people like, I don't know exactly what age it started, maybe 12 to like 18, something like that.
No.
And then from there, literally, they could go to the adult unit. So literally some people, and there was even a children's unit. So they were literally bringing in kids at 2 and 3 and stuff like that, and they were never going home.
Oh man.
And I'm watching this shit, and I'm like, whoa, this is wild. And every time, and literally to complete their program, it was a 4-month program. To complete their program, part of it was taking the medicines that they prescribe you and working with the therapist and not having episodes and all of these different things. But when you see how the people look when they give them those medicines, they're literally, people were freaking retarded, bro. They were given 800 milligrams of Seroquel to my freaking roommate, bro. It was so strong that he would cheek them, and we would resell them to people in there so they could get high.
Oh my God, that's so crazy,
and
man.
And when we resold them, people didn't take the whole thing. They would break them.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So you're doping kids up on stuff this strong to where they're literally like this, like.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like just the face looks like this all day long.
Yeah.
You can, like, have you ever seen a whole group of kids watch TV and not blink? I have.
That's so crazy, man.
I mean, really, like, have you ever seen opportunities for kids to be outside and nobody plays? They all just stand there.
Jeez.
That's what I was seeing, and I'm just like, dude, y'all are. This isn't helping nothing. This ain't changing nobody's life. Y'all are ruining these people, and y'all are making them vegetables on these drugs.
And what's the function? I mean, what are these therapists? So I guess everybody's income is dependent on that continuing in that way, right?
I don't know.
I mean, was there anybody trying to say like, hey, what's going on here?
My thought is that the therapists who prescribe people the most stuff and those types of things were helping the people the most in the hospital's eyes, so they probably got to stay longer.
Sure.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there was only 4 therapists. The therapist never changed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, when the therapist wasn't there just wasn't a therapist. So that lets you know there was obviously some bias. If the therapist never changed, we can never get a new therapist. There's not a rotating shift of therapists. It's just these 4 therapists, right? Mm-hmm. So you can tell me what that means. Kind of like maybe politics, you know?
No.
But yeah, it's definitely like that, man. And so it took me literally 5 months to finally beat them at their own little system, because at the first couple of months I was showing anger and those types of things. But I finally realized that if I ever wanted to get out of this place, I was going to have to play by a different set of rules. I was going to have to make these people really think that I actually was rehabilitated into what they thought that I should be, right?
Yeah.
So I did. I played it so perfectly in the middle of all my depression, anxiety, and screaming inside of myself. I kept myself smiling and looking happy for 5 months straight. I refused their medicine for 5 months straight without having an outburst or or an irate attempt at anything when kids were doing it at me, and I would just sit there and smile at them like nothing happened. You know what I mean? Because I knew where I was going. I'm getting up out of here. I know what they're doing to y'all because y'all keep on taking all them damn pills they give y'all. Y'all are never leaving, bro. Like, y'all can be mad all you want, but it's not going to do good. It ain't going to do me any good to beat you up right now because you're not leaving.
Yeah.
You know, I can knock sense into you all day, but it's never going to get into you when you keep taking them pills, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it really started, and then this was really just even showing me even more the fact of like how humans really think that they need a drug to survive.
Yeah.
Like, what does everybody like? Okay, if it's not crack, it's gonna be Seroquel. Like, what do y'all all just have to have something? And you think I need something too?
Right. So you're seeing the drugs on the outside, and then in the help program, even more.
I'm like, bro, I got in trouble for drugs and brought here, and then
right.
you want to give me drugs and
Yeah.
telling me I'm wrong because I don't want them.
Yeah.
And I had to do a whole extra 45 days in your program because I wouldn't.
Wow.
Yeah, whole extra 45 days in the program. Then the counselors start actually setting me up with programs to exit. The exit program that I got placed with was going to be called the King's Ranch. The King's Ranch was a beautiful place. It was the first place probably ever that actually, honestly, to me, was probably led by somebody decent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, probably doing something good. It was really God's work. I still fully believe that. And but I was just about to turn 18. I was like 17 and a half. And it's called TLP, Transitional Living Program. There was going to be 4 people living in this house. They were all going to be about my age. We all had to work a job. We provided our own food. There was a supervisor always on shift, you know, in the house. But we did our own thing pretty much. They were just there if we needed questions or a ride somewhere, right, to work or whatever. They drove the van type of thing, really. And so my plan already immediately as soon as I get here is as soon as I'm 18, I'm out of here. I'm leaving because I know that I know money and I know business and I've put a lot of things together, and I know that once you're 18, the financial burden for the state is how can I say it? It's not worth them chasing you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? You're 18. They're like, screw you. If you want to run away, you're just going to run away. We're not going to chase you anymore.
Yeah.
So, but if I would have did that when I was 17, they would have spared no expense, man. Helicopters, police, everything would have been everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I couldn't run yet because I knew that would obviously just compromise everybody that I would go stay with home. Everybody's doors would be getting kicked in. Nobody would be safe. Everybody would probably go to jail for aiding and abetting. It would have just been crap. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I get in the place, and I should have stayed, man. I still beat myself all the time for not, because they were going to get me in college, and I just would have lived a completely different life. But now that I'm all the way here, I'm glad I didn't. But for a long time, I should have. Yeah. But so anyways, I called my buddy Ethan from my hometown, Hueytown, whatever. They drive all the way out to Wilsonville. It's like an hour away. I turned 18. My stepdad actually sent me like some money on a Walmart card, $100, $200, something like that. So I was able to pay them to come pick me up. And from then on, man, we went straight back to Bessemer, and literally from the age of 18 to the age of 22, I literally built a drug empire. By the age of 22, I controlled the meth from Tuscaloosa to Jefferson County, like all of it. Me and my 2 friends, I won't mention their names. One's dead and one's already in prison right now doing 10 years in the federal penitentiary for trafficking, distribution of meth. I actually caught a trafficking case, a $500,000 bond for trafficking methamphetamines. It was going pretty crazy, bro. I was making $500,000 a year selling dope. Like, let's just put it like that. Like, taking Disney trips. I literally took my brother and sister that got adopted. I literally found them and took them on a Disney trip with me, made friends with their foster family and like let myself take them, you know. And we went to Disney and experienced all that because we didn't get to do that as kids, you know what I mean? And I knew that realistically, a lot of those things would never happen if I didn't do some of the things that I did, you know what I mean? And I just don't really regret it. I don't really regret anything, you know. I really don't. Am I glad that some things happened that kind of forced some changes? Yeah, but do I regret the things that I did that led to those changes? Definitely not, and I'll explain why. So, obviously, it was a pretty crazy time from 18 to 22. You can imagine the shootouts, the robberies, the all kind of whatever you can imagine, right? Police chases, you know, like all of that stuff that you can imagine with the dope game. It really actually happened. To the point when my wife was pregnant. This was right before we got busted, like a week before I got busted. My wife was pregnant as crap with my son, and literally, we got robbed inside of our house for just like 7 grams of marijuana. It was like laughable amount, right? Yeah. And they turned around when they're leaving. They're like, "This is took," and I'm like, "Okay." I literally said, "Okay," because I'm sitting like underneath my cushion on my couch. I'm literally sitting on like a pound of weed, and I have, you know, maybe 10 grand worth of dope in my cabinet. So I'm like, I don't really want to argue with you guys. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's fine. Y'all just take that little 7 grams and leave, right? So when they turn around and shoot, they still shot, even though they were taking my stuff and I'm already letting them leave and they're not even trying to get any more or nothing. So the second they did that, I had a table right in front of me that was like a smaller table like this. It had a top level and then a level underneath it. So the level underneath it had my gun right there. They couldn't see that gun though because they were standing up. And it was a 2-level table, right? So the second they start shooting, I literally grab my gun and lean in front of my wife and just shoot. And
jeez, man, that is so intense.
Get them out of my house, literally shoot my whole house up. Like my walls got holes in it, everything crazy. And my wife's pregnant, bro. It's like it was the craziest situation. Anyways, that ends up going on. And in the same house about a week later, I'm sitting there. We just left the Sheraton and hanging out with my buddy, the one that I told you was catching he got the 10 years in the feds.
Yeah. I
had just met him. We stayed the night at the Sheraton in Hoover. The night before, we were hanging out, partying and all of that. And obviously, I bought more from him at that thing. Turns out the feds were watching him. So they seen us have this whole party and they were like, "Oh, well, who's this guy?" You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they follow me back to my freaking house, and they know that I just purchased something from him. We wasn't in that hotel just clapping hands or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they knew something happened, and they wanted me, obviously, to be the one to tell, right?
Right.
They thought that would be how it would work. So they come, they literally pull up like so crazy deep. I look up, I'm like, "Oh man, this is it, Josh. They're here." And she's like, "Who's here?" And before I can say that, boom! They done got the batting hammer things that you see on NYPD. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had all of that. Boom! Knocked the door like off the hinges. Literally shattered it.
Wow.
And they're in with AR-15s and lasers and all type of shit. I'm seeing like people are walking. One guy walks in, he's in like a suit. That was the federal agent. And the other people are all like Bessemer Task Force. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're all like, "Where's the dope? Where's the dope? Where's the dope? No. We know. And my wife's pregnant or whatever, so they handcuff us. They obviously search us both down. There was a woman there too, so she put her hands all in my wife's bra and like everything, and they obviously put their hands all over my areas, you know.
Yeah.
And they're searching to make sure obviously we don't have a weapon or the dope on us, right?
Yeah.
And so then they handcuff us and they set us outside. Obviously, a couple of officers are just sitting there with us, and they literally sit my wife in a chair that's about to fall over, and then tell me to just stand behind the chair. So literally, if I ran, my pregnant wife falls. You see what I'm saying?
What? That's so crazy.
They knew what they were freaking doing.
Yeah.
And so the whole time they're tearing our house apart, bro. Like literally cut our couches open, like tore our baby. Like we had our whole nursery done for our newborn. Our son was about to be coming. You know, they literally stepped like muddy boots all over all this brand new stuff and like just destroyed everything, man. They stole my gun, my actual pistol that I did have. They were freaking out that I was going to kill him with or something. It was in the whole nother room. Literally, they took it and never heard another word about that.
Never got entered into evidence or anything.
No, of course not. And what's funny is neither did the dope, actually. Yeah, that's funny, huh? So, anyways, they searched the whole house and they can't find the dope. Excuse my language too, man. Even like I don't cuss anymore, but even bringing myself to talk about some of this stuff, it's actually bringing back an old person too. So that's kind of weird.
Sure.
But
we'll go through the transformation too. So
yeah, for sure. So I almost got to go back to to talk about it. Yeah. So they're busting my house. We're outside. They got the chair propped up on me. They're asking me, all these freaking questions and stuff. They're asked one question was they pop open my trunk. I have a safe in my trunk. The safe is like full of all kind of crap that people have traded me drugs for. You know what I mean? Gold coins, rings, watches, whatever the heck you can imagine. And they're like, "Do you have a key to this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's on my key ring." They go get my key ring, open it up, and they're like, "Do you have a key to your shed?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a key to my shed," because literally that day, my aunt, the aunt I was telling you about, my grandma and them wouldn't let her live anywhere and were trying to put her out and all this, treating her like crap. So I told them that they could let her live in my shed. I had just bought a shed and put it out front of my building. So literally as I'm getting busted, my grandparents literally are pulling up with my aunt's, all her shit.
Oh my God.
And watching me literally get busted and obviously, talking horrific amounts of crap because nobody wanted to believe that I was actually doing better. So the second that they seen that my reign was over, they love that.
Yeah.
I'm getting arrested, and as I'm getting arrested, so let me tell you this. They can't ever find the dope. It's been like 2 hours and we're outside. They can't search. They can't find it. They are searching, but they can't find it. They freaking walked me back inside. And as soon as they walked me back inside, they followed my eyes. And I freaking looked at it, man. It was literally in the top of those work radios that you see at like construction sites.
Yeah.
The top of them open up. There's like a little flap that like you could put your phone there, and it's got a cord to where you could plug your auxiliary cord up and cover it up. That way drywall dust or whatever doesn't get in your device, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had the dope crammed right there. It was 2 ounces of dope. And when I went in there, they had already moved it. It was on the love seat, but they done flipped over all the couches and put it on a table and didn't even open it. So I'm thinking, oh God, y'all ain't gonna never find it for real. But I looked at it. If I would have never looked at it seriously, they would have never even found it. Like literally, it was my fault. So, but I'm glad it happened. I really am. They ended up, as soon as they walked me back outside, of course, they walked right back inside and grabbed the radio and opened the radio, and then they screamed, "Book him, Dano," straight outside. And obviously I have to tell them that it's not mine, but it's not hers either, and we're the only two people there. You know what I mean? So, boom, I get handcuffed pretty quickly. And they take me onto the back of the cop car. They make my wife actually sign a piece of paper that says that they found the freaking gun and the dope in the house, which really actually she didn't know what she was doing, but that literally actually gave proof that stuff was there and someone there seen them find it, right?
Yeah.
So what I had to do immediately is get married, because you can't make somebody that you're married to testify against you, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So here we go.
Huh.
Story's getting good. This is the part where it really warms up. So, so boom, yeah, they're gonna literally make her testify against me and everything, right? I'm in jail. They do something called a 72-hour investigation hold is actually what it's called. You're not actually charged yet during this time, but they can still incarcerate you they can incarcerate you for 72 hours under investigation hold, no matter what. Like even if if they just said they thought you did something, right? It doesn't matter. You don't have to actually have committed anything. So they put me under this investigation hold. Obviously, the case is going to stick because they found the drugs, right? So a couple of time goes by, they pull me out. The detectives are there, and one of them is obviously that same federal agent that was in my house. And the only thing they want to know, obviously, is about my friend that I told you I wouldn't mention their name and like where the drugs were coming from and stuff. And they mentioned that they had followed us from the hotel and that they knew everything. I might as well just tell them, you know what I mean? And I was just like, the only thing I said is I need a lawyer. You know, I'm not going to tell you guys anything to use against me or to make my situation any worse. I'm smart enough to know the situation I'm in, and I just want a lawyer.
Yeah.
And boom, they kicked me out, put me right back in to the cell. And then that night, it was only 48 hours, but because they were so pissed at me for not talking to them, they went ahead and did my paperwork a little early and added me a couple of zeros on there. The legal bond that they should have been able to, by law, give me for a trafficking case was $50,000.
Yeah.
$50,000. So $5,000 with a bondsman, and I would have been out. I would have been home. So I should have been out that night. But because I didn't cooperate, they gave me what is called the highest bond that they possibly could.
Yeah.
And that was $500,000. It was completely illegal, though, and they failed to remember that.
Yeah.
So after I get transferred from the city on my 72-hour investigation hold, they take me to the county. Now I'm processed under the actual trafficking case. I'm actually arrested now under that case, and I'm in jail. My bond is $500,000.
And you said that the evidence all disappeared, though, too, right?
Yeah, but I don't know that yet. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So, what was I just asking? Okay, yeah. So
you got transferred to county. You're officially under arrest. You said,
right?
And
I just got to the county. Now I'm officially under arrest, and literally 2 more days go by, and you have to have what's called a 48-hour arraignment or a 48-hour hearing. That's where they pretty much, you go in front of the judge, and all it is you go in front of the judge. He tells you what you're charged with, what your bond is, and ask you if you have a lawyer or if you need one appointed to you. And then from there, they set a time to actually do your case, right? So while I'm in that courtroom, I'm there with obviously a couple of more people that had been trafficked too. Their bonds were literally $2 million. And they got them dropped. This lawyer that was in there got them dropped from $2 million. They were literally like the case or two before me too. So I'm watching this happen before I got to go, right?
Yeah.
And the lawyer got their bond dropped from $2 million to $30,000. So of course, while right before we left jail, I forgot to mention this part. They had little tablets in there, and because of those, I was able to text my wife. Right. So I text my wife, come right now. And she was already right outside the courtroom talking to bondsmen and stuff like that, trying to figure out whatever, if she could get a payment plan or some crap to get me out. Right. So she came right over to the courthouse, and she was in there too. She had my money in her pocket as well. And I also knew that. That's another reason I wanted her there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because obviously I can't do anything from inside of jail. So, well, I told her immediately, I'm like, hire that lawyer. Right there, the one that just did that, because that's what I needed to do for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so the lawyer walks over there. It's $250 for the retainer. She gives him the $250. Sure enough, I go up there. I plead my case to the lawyer, to the judge. Turns out it's the same judge too that did all of my family court stuff, bro. Mm-hmm. So she actually went from family court up to the actual district court. So. Yeah. This lady knew about my juvenile situation, my mom, my family, everything, bro. She knew it all, and she actually cared. She knew, that she knew that I was just fighting to figure my life out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so she gave us the bond, knowing that I had my pregnant wife in there, and she was about to have the kid. I was like, I'm literally gonna miss my son be born, you know. And literally, it was only like I think 8 or 9 days after I got out. That my son was born.
Wow.
Literally, my son was born 8 or 9 days later. And while I was in jail, this is what really made the change for me. And literally in jail, while I'm in jail on a $500,000 bond, I get a complete comfort knowing that I'm never going to do prison time on this sentence. How would you think that would feel, and how would that make sense?
Yeah. But you somehow just knew. It was like a revelation or something.
I knew because the second I got in jail, I vowed to God that I would never sell another dangerous chemical. And I read my Bible. I started reading my Bible about all the disciples that had done these evil things and changed their life and vowed to work for the Lord, and how quickly all of that didn't matter anymore. So I knew exactly what I had to do when I was reading those stories. I had to change. I had to vow to never do this anymore, and then I had to actually do that. And I had to mean it in my heart. I couldn't just say it and know in my heart that as soon as I touch those streets, I'm going to get out here and do the same shit.
Couldn't be some fear or some fake thing. Yeah.
The thing is that there was still fear. I was totally scared, knowing that I was never going to get to be out there and sell drugs again, because I didn't know how to do anything else. I have no skills. I've never worked a job. I never did anything.
Yeah.
The only thing I ever did was sell drugs, and now I'm 22 years old. Everybody else that's 22, they done been to college and did something, or you know what I mean? They got some kind of skill.
Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't going to get hired for a job or anything, and I didn't. But anyway, so I'm praying, I'm reading the Bible, I'm literally crying out to God. I got this deep fear in my heart because I know I can't do it anymore, but I also have the comfort of knowing that I'm not going to do it, right? God came through, man, and I got out. Literally 5 days is all I was incarcerated at all, with both of those two holds. I got out, and literally for the next 4 years of my life, the case was pending. No job would hire me. I tried. I couldn't even join the business I'm in right now. I couldn't even join. Couldn't even do the financial services. I literally couldn't do, because I had a pending trafficking case, and you can't do this with felonies. You know what I mean? You can't be a financial professional with felonies at all. And no other job would hire me, because who wants to hire you not knowing when the police might come in there and take you out, because your case is pending. You could be called into jail at any time. Yeah. See what I'm saying? Yeah. And also during this time, I have a 9-year-old daughter that I ended up having to go through court and stuff with, because the mom ends up on drugs and stuff, and I'm not even allowed. I'm the one best suitable to have custody of my daughter during this time, right? Literally, I am the best suitable, and I'm not allowed to because of this case. I get put on 4 hours of 4 hours every other Saturday. Supervised visitations is all they give me because of this case. Yeah. So literally, this case stripped everything from me before I got everything back. And God wanted to see me lose. Literally, this is what I believe. God wanted to see me literally lose everything I thought I had, and show me that I could get it all back without doing the same thing. And guess what I did? I did just that. I started a CBD business. In that 4 years' time, that CBD business took care of me and my wife for the next 3 years, making $10,000 to $20,000 a month. I ended up realizing that I'm getting close to rich again. I don't want to lose everything all over again. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to have to restart ever again, because that was a really traumatizing situation. I was depressed for a couple of months and everything. You know what I mean? Didn't just start right out of jail. You know what I mean? I was crying and weeping and sad and depressed and all of that for a couple of months too. I had to shake that. You know what I mean? And I just got out there and I kept building. You know, I kept building. And then sooner or later, I thought about it. I said, I need to learn the financial side of stuff. Because if I don't learn the financial side of stuff, it doesn't matter what business I do. It doesn't matter how big I get this CBD thing. If I don't learn the money and how to make the money last and how to make the money grow after I've already made the money, then I don't have any money. You know what I mean? And that's when I got realistic with myself, and I was like, you know what? Who can introduce me to the financial services business? But this case was still freaking pending. Yeah. So I really needed someone to backdoor me to the financial services industry. So I literally made a post on Facebook: who can backdoor me to the financial services industry? And I got somebody tagged on there, and I go talk to him, and literally this dude he's a complete what we would have called him is a square. You know,
Yeah.
that's as simple as that. Like I don't. He's nerdy. You know, he's all the things that I wasn't. You know, and he was completely terrified to even work with me because of all the things that I was bringing to his table. And he's thinking his license are at jeopardy, realistically, even talking to somebody like me, because in the industry, you're literally taught to not help drug dealers and all these types of people with their money, right? Because they're probably
Right, of course.
drug dealing money.
Yeah.
Right. So then you think about that. It's like, okay, this dude, everything in him is telling him to not work with me. But then you got this really persistent guy like me telling him from the first meeting, look, I'm going to work with you guys. Literally the very first meeting, I looked him right in his face. I said, I'm going to work with you guys. And he said, I don't know about that. Your background's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to work for you guys. And I'd be dang if I didn't see it through, if I didn't have that faith in my Lord to see it through. Guess what? Even with the case still pending, even with me knowing that I could never get these license, what did I do? I went ahead and still signed up. I went ahead and still did the course. I went ahead and still took the Alabama state exam with the Alabama University that we were talking about earlier. They went ahead and still let me pass. I went ahead and took my fingerprints with the state of Alabama. Alabama went ahead and passed my fingerprints on through. I was licensed as a financial professional in the state of Alabama.
That's crazy, man. It's totally crazy. Yeah.
And guess what? After I got my license, now I had another issue. I had to call WFG and figure out, how are y'all going to take my license? Alabama gave me my license, but then when I called WFG, they actually found, what Alabama couldn't find. They found the case and they wanted answers, right? So they wouldn't even accept my license after I had the license.
Yeah.
Right? So what I had to do, I had to get off the phone with them. I had to go. I got faith this whole time. I'm thinking, I never think even when they tell me that, oh, they found the case. Other people would have been like, dang, Alabama didn't find it, but WFG did. Oh, well, I guess I can't do this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How many people would have did that? Put in the comments right now if you would have did that. Because it's going to let you know, like, that ain't how God's miracles work. God's miracles work for the people that have undenying faith the whole time. Right? For the people that truly believe the whole time. Like, do you think when it was time to build the ark, do you think that Noah once ever questions? They said Noah went on to preach for, I think it was 100 years or 140 years, something like that, 120 years, something like that. He was preaching and building the ark before it ever rained.
Yeah.
See what I mean? And so many of us, we give up way too early. Way too early. The first sign of defeat. You don't think God's bigger than somebody telling you no?
Yeah, and people will give up in their minds without even starting. Yeah.
And when you give up in your mind, God gives up. He ain't gonna keep fighting for somebody that don't believe He's able. So I knew that. I had to keep the faith. I really did. And when I got off the phone with WFG that time, and they're telling me that you're not going to be able to do this unless you can prove that this case is a fluke, like it's gone, like it can't be here, like we cannot move forward at all, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here thinking, how in the world am I going to remove a whole trafficking case, But then I was thinking, God can. So I started trying to find my lawyer's number. I haven't talked to this guy in months either. Remember, it's been like 4 years. We've been waiting on court to even come up. Nothing's happened, right?
So just nothing. You're not even hearing from him about this.
Straight. You don't know, and you're literally facing 20 to 99 years.
Yeah. So
every night I went to sleep. I literally didn't know if I was going to wake up and it could be my last night for 4 years of my life. So think about that. Just spending time with your family or going to sleep by your wife every night, thinking about tomorrow I could be back in the cell.
Yeah, that's intense, man.
Did
that bring you some deeper appreciation?
For a long time.
Yeah. Did that bring you some amount of so you were probably more present and aware, and were you more afraid, or were you grateful? And
honestly, I was more absent.
You were more absent.
Family, but I was more focused on building something that was going to be there no matter if I was or not.
Okay.
Because I had the faith to know that God was going to make a way, but I didn't know what that way was going to look like. I just knew I had to be working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I knew like the CBD business, I literally had it built enough, and my wife knew all the people and everything to where she could have drove to Tennessee to the farm, got the product, and then drove down here and sold all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had that set up for her. She wouldn't have had to worry.
Yeah.
But then I realized, you know, obviously it can get a step deeper, and then that's when I got into the financial services thing. But anyways, I get off the phone with WFG. They're telling me no after I've already got the license from Alabama. And so I call my lawyer. When I get on the phone with my lawyer tells me automatically, he says, "This is Dustin?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Wow, man, I really thought, I thought you were dead." And I was like, "What? What do you mean you thought I was dead?" Like, "No, I'm fine. I've been here the whole time, same number." He said, "Well, 2 days ago, I got a letter in the mail saying that the state of Alabama dismissed your case with a reason for best for justice." Threw it away. I never even went to court, never went to trial, never fought a day in my life. The only thing I had to fight for was to prove to God that I actually wanted the life I deserved. And then now today I'm a licensed financial planner, 8 states. I got a team of almost 30 people. I literally live in the type of neighborhood that I used to dream about as a kid, like, you know, that I could grow up in a subdivision where other kids are out there and could ride their bikes, and it was safe and, you know, super nice area. And like all the people that I grew up with and that are still out doing those drugs, they literally don't even have the gas money to get to where I live now.
We got a comment from Deidre there.
Yeah, like they literally don't even have the gas money to get where I am now. So that's how God moves. I'm just going to tell y'all, my testimony is real. And I want you all to know right now, hearing me, that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one with access to this kind of love and these kind of miracles and this kind of grace, this kind of mercy. I want you all to know that if you believe, you know, with your whole heart that Jesus Christ died for your sins and rose on the 3rd day, that you can too. You know, you just have to have the faith, that the faith to see what's not seen. You know what I mean? The faith to push through even when it seems like you shouldn't. And there's something about this creator. He just won't not listen to that. It doesn't matter what the dream is, what the goal is, you know, or what the situation. It doesn't matter if you want love. It doesn't matter if you want something that's material, something that's physical, something that's spiritual. If you go towards it every day, every time you wake up, and you never stray, even when everybody tells you you should, God's going to give it to you. I don't know when. It might take you 4 years. You know what I mean? Might take you 4 years. God's going to give it to you. I promise you.
Yeah, that's amazing, man, that it got the way that it got dropped and everything. And the lawyer didn't call you even when it first happened, right? He just didn't... hadn't heard from
you. He didn't ever tell me nothing, bro. He left me. He left me out here to have faith, and I honored him for that, because I was during that time I would pray for patience. You know, and what kind of patience do you think I have now after something like that?
Outstanding, man. And
now that I can see my whole life again, bro.
And what do you make of? You know, you asked the question that some people might ask, and maybe there's no answer, but when you asked early on in the story, you were saying, like, why would God do this? You know, when you said, nobody's coming for me, you know what I mean? Not your family, not anybody, not right. God at that time in your mind. That might be a question that people...
well, I got the answer to that question, too, from my story.
Like, why would it happen? Why would you be set up in that way in the first place? You know
well,
what I mean?
One thing, if you ever read the fruits of God, the first one is long-suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. My long-suffering helps me to be in a position to where now I have a testimony that more people can see. I can talk to people that would have never heard anybody else.
Yeah.
And then not only that, God actually opened the door not that long ago and showed me a quote. And it was a guy, he's leaning on a shovel like this. Like, say this is my shovel. He's leaning like this. The shovel's on the ground. And he's sitting there saying, "Dear God, give me a hole." You can't lean on a shovel and pray for a hole.
Yeah.
You got to dig. You know what I mean? Just like me, I couldn't just I couldn't just sit there and pray for everything to change. I had to actually get out there and show God that I was going to go work and get those licenses no matter what, and do these things. And guess what? Now, remember the same daughter that they told me that I was only going to get 4 hours every other weekend with?
Yeah.
We ended up back in court. Because the mother that, remember last time we went, I had the Class A trafficking case and she had nothing, and how the roles went. Well, this time I beat my case, and the mother got mixed up with some drugs and stole the car with somebody. Now she's got a Class A case. So now we're in court with the complete roles reversed. And guess who's got the leg up now? Now I've got every other weekend, and I've got half of every holiday and half the summer. And come March, I'm getting full custody of my daughter.
Wow, man.
And that's all great. Because of God and me having faith and determination to see it through. Sometimes we got to lose it all. Sometimes we have to sacrifice it all. But remember, this is a powerful story to help you remember for those of you that are kind of spiritual. You remember Andrew? I think it's Andrew. In the Bible, he has to sacrifice his son.
Oh, Abraham. You mean
Abraham? Yeah, Abraham. Sorry, mixed up the words. But yeah, Abraham has to sacrifice up his son, right? And he actually does it. His son even asked him on the way, where's the offering? And he tells him that God's going to provide it. Knowing the whole way, bro, you're the offering.
Oof, I know, that's hardcore.
You are the offering. You know what I mean? So knowing that and seeing that how nowhere in the Bible ever again did he ever get tempted. Because he knew. Now he knows, right? Guess what? I'm not getting tempted anymore. I'm just getting blessings. Because I went through that. I went through that hard time, and I proved to him. God is a jealous God. Don't you think that he's also, if he's jealous, don't he want you to prove it? Says it in the Bible, he's jealous. I didn't make that up either.
Yeah.
So if he's jealous, he wants you to prove it. That's where the trials and tribulations come from. Even when he said, have you tried my servant Job? He wants the devil to try us because he takes pride in when the devil comes and we turn him away.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
He wants to see strong faith.
Yeah, and I mean, and it does beg the question, like, I think, because there could be atheists or different folks that would just dismiss. You know what I mean? They would just say, "Well, no, there's no way a good God would never create a scenario like that." But there's deeper questions, like what is the nature of reality? What is the nature of existence? And what are we here to do? Is it just to be like in a playground and have fun times where you had nothing else to compare to? Or is there something about us that's eternal, and then this is some kind of proving ground for that? You know what I mean?
How could you hear that story and think that it wasn't God?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I look at it. Like, if that was true, if atheism was true, and then that story, I'd be in prison.
Sure.
Because if I got what I deserved, if everybody just got what was coming to them, and the universal laws were the way that it was, and there was no mercy and no love, we'd probably all be in prison. We'd all be dead.
Sure.
We all owe something. I bet you that, don't we?
Yeah, man.
So now, if you're an atheist, think of that. Think of you. Do you not deserve mercy? Do you not want mercy? Because if you're an atheist, you don't believe in mercy. You don't believe in, bad things happening to good people and then great outcomes coming from that. Because a good person might have needed to go through something, that way he can talk to a person that's in it. Or she, or whoever,
Sure. Yeah.
What do you think about that? Is that something to think about?
Definitely, man. Yeah, I think stories like this can give people a lot to consider, and there's even holes in some of the atheist worldview. I don't know that people have really sorted it out. They come from a background where they had some bad experience with religion as a kid, and then they are reactive to that,
right?
But without considering some of the deeper mysteries involved in the situation. and also considering even where meaning and truth and so truth is something metaphysical, right? So you need to have some way to it's not just physicalism or naturalism or like, reality is not just some mechanism stemming
Right.
out of a big bang, you know what I mean? Which even that theory doesn't account for how reality appeared, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So the rather than try to prove, for example, that there's a God, I think people would be better questioning what their worldview is and seeing where the holes are in it, and then that will start to uncover the truth. The truth is something that can't be obscure. It can never change. It can never not be true. So it
Right.
remains true, even if your worldview, even if your perceptual lenses are clouded, or you're not perceiving reality directly. You're not perceiving the truth because you're believing something false instead.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
And
that's where I say to turn
and
the
we see
gazes
it
on what.
directly in our lives. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like as you've seen, you just heard my story. Look at how my story was when I believed that way,
sure.
and then look at my story now that I don't. And
Right. So
then
you believed you had to do certain things to get by. You believed there was no one coming to help take care of you. Yeah, and then yeah,
right, I believed that, and but look how hard. Like that was a really hard time, and bad things kept happening. Why? Because I believed that I had to do everything myself, and God had to show me that I needed Him,
sure.
or else I would have never seen that.
Hmm.
And now that I know that, things are so much easier to do because I do them with God the first time, and I always win. It's just that easy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's something pretty sweet about it,
Yeah,
and
man,
I
it's
appreciate you
literally
digging. I
universal, man. It can work for everybody. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I'm
I
not
appreciate
special. I'm
you.
not a prophet. I'm just a little kid from Bessemer, Alabama, that really had the short stick at first, and planted it and grew a tree.
Yeah, man, it's such a crazy story, and I appreciate you going deep and sharing that.
Yeah, is there any? Can you think of any questions you might that could maybe get me deeper, or anything else you want to ask me?
I don't know, nothing comes to mind at the
I
moment.
feel like I
Let me.
gave you a good bit.
You went
That was
pretty deep,
really it.
man.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
was the important timelines. There
Yeah,
was
let
a
me.
couple other things in there. Some birthdays, Christmas, whatever. But
Let's just see if anybody watching has any questions.
yeah, let's see
I'll
what they
type it
say.
into
Yeah,
the
let's do a
type in the
Q&A. We can
comments and
open up for
see.
that.
Just see if
They can
anybody's
ask us
watching.
anything about, just maybe seeing through a hard time. Maybe they want some financial advice. I can also help with that stuff. Maybe they need some radical undoing. Whatever. We're here to help. Ask us something.
Yeah, so if anybody who's on has any questions, and then if not too, if you guys are watching this later on the video or on a replay, then type stuff in the comments so we can always meet up again and do another
Right.
stream as well. So we'll wait a little while and see.
Yeah, give them a few minutes. Anyways, it's a beautiful day out. How's the weather out there?
It's been raining here, man. It's still in the thick of winter. It's been warmer than the last couple of years. This winter's been really nice, kind of mild. But today and last night it was raining like crazy. But I think it's a good thing. The rivers have been low,
Yeah, we
So
all need a good rain, man.
yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. I'm trying to think of some value I could just spit.
Well, maybe what would you say to people who are who might tune in or are in the midst of like some dark place and there's pressure on them? You know what I mean? Like the situations you were in, there was
Maybe
people
somebody
relying.
who's in that jail cell right now.
Yeah, or not in the jail cell yet, right? But where they believe that their only options are, there could be pressure and even violent pressure. Let's say, if they're in the midst of something, buying and selling, and you know what I mean.
Right.
So what do you
Or
say
maybe
to
like how could
somebody?
they the biggest if you want out, I'm just gonna say it. It's gonna be scary. You know what I mean? It's gonna be scary. And when you think about it, if it's the violent side of it, you have to think about as business. And realistically, as long as you're not going to cost them money by leaving, then they're not going to spend money chasing. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So if you want out and you owe them a bunch of money, pay the damn money first. You know,
Right, don't get
that's my
yourself
first
killed,
tip.
right?
Pay the
Yeah.
money first. Don't just think, okay, well, I messed up. I'm just going to run away and it's going to be fine. That's it's just sadly not how this type of thing works. I didn't leave owing anybody any money. I didn't leave any bad things undone. If anything, people owed me a bunch of money, and I just let it happen. I just said okay and had my peace with it and left. If it's that situation and people owe you a bunch of money and that's your problem, let it go. I'm telling you right now, if you were capable of making the money in the first place for another human being to owe you, that you're a special human being and you're meant for way more than that shit anyways. And you have leadership skills and you're able to take risks that other people could never see feasible. You probably need to talk to us and see more about what I do now on the legitimate side. Probably could help you.
Sure.
The next thing is God. Just pray. That's the one outlet that all of us have. You know what I mean? Maybe not the best reader. You might not be able to read the word or understand the word, or maybe you don't have a good church around you. You can't trust church. Whatever the situation, or maybe your problem's so bad that you can't tell church. Like I've been there too. You know what I mean? But you can always pray. That's one outlet it just never shuts off. You know what I mean? It's always there. You do need the coming of the saints to help get your prayers across sometimes, especially if you're leading a really evil life. You know what I mean? So try your best to surround yourself with some people that are, of some kind of holiness. You know what I mean? Even if you just think they are and they don't know, just try. You know what I mean? I feel like God will see your effort and that'll be rewarded. But
Yeah, there's an interesting point, right? Reaching out or just looking for the good somewhere in people,
right, man, instead of the bad, because if you look for the bad, you're gonna find it too.
Yeah.
You gotta search for the good. The good is good. You know what I mean? The good is what's gonna make the difference. Like obviously we all know bad, right?
Yeah.
Like I can do bad, you can do bad. We can probably do a whole lot of bad if we got together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
But imagine like if you did a little bit of good and I did a little bit of good, and then we got together doing good, like on this video. There's no telling how many people could be helped from this video for real. Like it's infinite how far that could go. So look for avenues to where you could do something like that, and I think you can live a much more fulfilled life, because a lot of that comes down to just trying to be fulfilled and feel significant. That's what I learned about drugs. I just wanted to be fulfilled, significant, and stability. Those were my three things. You don't think I can feel significance if I help somebody get out of debt or save for retirement or roll over a retirement account that's been poorly managed, or just talking to them and worshiping them about Jesus and how that saved my life? Like, you can get the same things from doing other things. So just be open to that and accept that and just follow God. You know what I mean? Try a few things. I tried all kind of stuff. I did drop shipping. What all have I done? I've done 1 million MLMs. You know what I mean? I've done,
Yeah.
I sold the CBD stuff. I ran that whole business for a while. I started a CBD resellers thing to where I had other people reselling my CBD, and I was like a wholesaler type of thing. I've sold cars, you know what I mean? I've sold guns. I've done it all. Anything that you can imagine, I've peddled in. I've even ran a pest control company. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, like, anything is possible. It's just finding a way that you can serve others and make money for it, and you'll feel significant and your life will change. And then worshiping God. That's what I think is needed from a lot of people. A lot of people feel like they feel unfulfilled because they go work a job just for a paycheck to pay the bills. But realistically, they don't like the bills they're paying because they don't like where they live, and they don't like the job they're working to pay the bills because it's not it doesn't fulfill them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So make sure that everything you do is fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Even where you live, even how you talk. You know what I mean? Like earlier I was mentioning, I wasn't that fulfilled about some of the cuss words I've said through this because that's not who I am anymore. I don't want to portray that anymore. Yeah.
That's interesting. The little tiny things you can do. And some of what I do with people in the business too is we have something called holy discipline. I did a whole video about it recently, but it's on the surface just this little simple awareness exercise And you use it, well, like cleaning your house, but not really with the goal of cleaning the house. Because when you have that in mind, then it becomes like a chore, right? But with this idea of holy discipline, you set a timer for however long you want to do it, 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever, and walk around your space and just notice things. At first, you just kind of become aware. And you might notice, like, so in my house, I might notice, oh, there's cat hair that I've seen like 6 times, like under the thing, but in passing, I never do anything about it. So then,
and it low key aggravates you.
Yeah. You just, at least you notice it, and if you notice it, it's out of place. So then every time you ignore it, but during this exercise, you just go over and clean up that one thing. And then when you're down there, you might suddenly notice some other thing. Okay, these cables are a mess. Let's tie these up. And then you just kind of wander your space and handle any little tiny things that you can handle that your awareness lets you know is out of place. And it was fascinating to me that there is some rightness and wrongness to things. You know what I mean? Like if you see the dishes in the sink or see some coffee that spilled a day ago, there's something in your awareness that's like, no, this ain't right. There's something out of place here. And then you just go take care of it right away. No resistance, I'll do that at another time.
No doubt.
And so just in 5-10 minutes a day, it seems like nothing. It seems so innocuous, but it puts you into this place where you're actually noticing and then handling things immediately that you notice. Mm-hmm. So you can see how that would start to build up that muscle. You know what I mean? And then other areas of life, you suddenly are now conditioning yourself to notice and then handle stuff right away.
I think that I did that I just didn't ever worry about the room, because obviously the environment of when I was going through my situation, the environment was, if I would have worried about changing the environment, I would be there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I couldn't change the environment. I had to worry about me.
Right. So, but there were like little things you could change, like you mentioned. You could change the way you're talking. Anyone could do that right away.
Or even though I already said the cuss word, just the fact that I said I don't like that.
Yeah.
At the end, that changes in my mind. You don't like that, Mm-hmm. Now I got to keep saying stuff like that, or else I'll always do it. It's like, it's the little changes. You're right. And then, so I did do that. I looked like the one little change I made that was probably the biggest was stop selling people dangerous drugs. Mm-hmm. That little change was a huge change. Now I make more money and I'm happier. Go figure.
Yeah, man.
And I pay taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how you got through that. And thanks for sharing the whole story and everything, man. I really appreciate it.
For sure. I hope it helps somebody. I truly do. I'm going to pray.
Yeah. Me as well. I hope so. And I'll make sure I'll send over a link and stuff to the YouTube video, the Facebook video, or whatever, and then you can share it if you want. And
I don't know if you can. I got a YouTube channel too. I don't know if you can tag people on YouTube. I don't know if that works, but if not,
I think I can tag you on there. Just send me afterwards. We can handle that. You can send some links and stuff.
That way, people can get to both of our pages if they want, more information from either one of us or whatever. And I hope we can help more people together, man.
Right on, man. Yeah, and I hope to meet you in person someday. I don't know how that'll happen, but it would be great. Sometime
I'll come to Croatia one day. That's worth it.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Very cool.
You've already seen America.
Yeah, man. Well, what a pleasure. It's nice to go a little deeper and connect with you again. I'm happy that we met some.
Enjoyed this. Again, I hope we did help somebody. I appreciate your time, and honestly, you're just like whatever you've seen in me that even you thought I should be here, because honestly that means a lot to me, because obviously people didn't think I was meant to be a lot of places,
Yeah, I don't even remember how we got connected, which is also another funny thing, like on Facebook. But I just started seeing your posts, and something stood out to me, And then
one of us added each other for something. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. I like how that.
We stayed obviously because we like the energy,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm happy to know you and to continue our connection. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. I think that really about sums it up, man. Honestly, it was kind of a bumpy road at first, but it all just led to me believing in myself, having courage, having faith, and then seeing it through until I actually made my goal happen. Now, of course, my next goal is to save 10,000 people from a living death of poverty, addiction, and mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different process. I have to go see that through now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it restarts with every goal.
Yeah. That's a beautiful goal, though. Yeah. And that idea of just, there's something extremely powerful about seeing something through, like no matter what happens, just continuing, and wherever something closes, just looking for an opening somewhere, and eventually it does open. Something does open. It's so amazing to experience that. Yeah.
And sometimes you will, like while you're looking for that opening, you might be stuck in a hole for 6 months, you know what I mean? Or a year, or sometimes 5 years. You never know. Like you might be where you are for a while, but just never quit looking. And eventually it's going to open.
Yeah, it's totally amazing, and lots of people I've talked to have found their way out of crazy situations, and it's beautiful every time. You know.
The way I guess a good analogy would be just imagine yourself inside of this, huge like dirt ball or something, you know? and and your eyes are literally just shooting beams. But every time you move your eye a little bit, you have to restart all of your work, right? And it takes you a long time to cut through this ball to get out. You know what I mean? So if you just keep beaming your eyes right in the same spot for long enough, your lasers are going to shoot right through this ball and you're out. But if you keep turning, you're restarting every time. Every time you change your mind, every time you're undecisive, every time, and now you never get out because you've only singed a little bit into a whole bunch of places.
Yeah.
You got to singe all the way through. You got to see it all the way through. Or don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Beautiful stuff, man. Well, I really appreciate this. And,
yeah, man. Next time, I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll do another one, and I look forward to talking to you. I'll be in touch as well. And yeah, man. Thanks again for coming on.
All right, brother. See you later.
All right. Talk to you soon.